Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new video. Today I'm back with another market analysis for the month of September, and the focus of today's video is going to be on bots. So how badly are bots actually affecting the RuneScape economy? I'm going to be taking a look at certain items, different trends, and just all of the items that are heavily affected by botters, and seeing really just how badly it's gotten over the last, year really, but specifically over the last couple of months as well. And as always, I'm going to be going over some of the other aspects of the RuneScape market, including the price of bonds, any new items, or anything else that I find interesting. Anyway, I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. So, botting has been a problem in old school RuneScape and RuneScape 2, RuneScape Classic, pretty much for as long as the game has existed. There have been bots. However, there is kind of an ebb and flow of how many bots are in the game at any specific time, and this can be caused by a bunch of different factors. In my opinion, one of the largest factors as to why there seems to be an excess of bots at this current time was the 7-day free membership trial that was given out for new players. Now, while I do think it is an effective way of getting new people into the game and playing, I think there was a much better way to go about it. Just to summarize quickly, there was a really easy exploit you could use to get an unlimited amount of membership on existing accounts, new accounts, whatever. People just didn't have to pay for membership anymore if they're running a bot or even a bot farm. Now, as far as I'm aware, that got removed a few weeks ago, which hopefully will reduce the amount of bots in game. Now, first up here, I wanted to look at a market index on GE Tracker that actually plots the general pricing of a bunch of different heavily botted items. We have stuff like U-Logs, Wines of Zamorak, white berries, dragon bones, green dragonhide, stuff like that. Very commonly botted items, and we can see the historical pricing. Now 100 is where the index started at, and as a general rule, the higher in value the index goes, I would say the less amount of bots there are. Now there are other factors, however, if the prices of heavily botted items is high, that generally will mean that there are less bots, and we can see that it peaked in November and has kind of been declining ever since then. Back in February, we went below where the index started, and now we're down into the 80 and 90 range, with maybe a very slight resurgence at the end of September here, which in my opinion could be directly associated with the removal of the 7-day trial. And if we look at individual items, we can see a very similar story. For one, we have cannonballs here, worth around 200 1 year ago and currently worth 150. If we look at U-Logs, they did peak in the wintertime, probably the release of mobile, but now they're down to 189. They are actually cheaper than Teak Logs, I believe. Yep, Teak Logs are now more valuable than U-Logs, that's crazy. Next up here we have white berries, which is a level 3 moneymaker that used to be pretty good. Last year at around 700 GP, it's gone all the way down to 300, which is incredibly cheap, probably the cheapest it's ever been. We have stuff like green dragonhide, hasn't dropped as much, but is still lower than it's been in the past. Dragon bones, once again, has gone from around 3,000 each all the way down to 2,300, so a pretty significant drop there. We have iron ore that went from around 200 each all the way down to 87, which is a huge drop. Now, the majority of bots will be botting these lower level resources because the barrier to entry is a lot lower. The bots are easier to script, and as a lot of these bots are run 24/7 until they are banned, which is called suicide botting, lower level moneymakers are preferred. Now, one bot that has been talked about a lot this week is zulrah bots, and let's have a quick look at the price of the zulrah unique items. We have the magic fang that used to be worth 5 mil each and now is currently worth 2.8 mil. That is a huge decrease. Now, another argument could be made that there has been no PVM updates, so generally PVM items will slowly decline in price unless there's some upcoming update or feature that they're going to be needed for. However, I think zulrah bots have a much larger part in the decline of these items. The Tanzanite fang, it follows a very similar route at around 5 mil. It started at a year ago, and it now is currently worth around 3 mil, so almost cut in half, with just a minor increase in price when the Kebos Lowland was released. And the Serpentine Helm does seem to be on the decline as well. A year ago worth around 5 mil, currently worth around 3 mil. Now the price of these items are all tied together, but they are falling at a very significantly quick rate. Now, how does botting really affect the average player? Well, one of the biggest consequences of botting, in my opinion, is it widens the gap between viable skilling money-making methods and viable PVM money-making methods, with the exception of stuff like zulrah bots and maybe a few other heavily botted PVM bosses. The grand majority of bots are doing skilling, money-making methods, which devalues those into the ground. So a regular player, really, if they want to make any money, has to do PVM. I think that is one of the biggest reasons why PVM is so heavily focused in updates, as well as just favorited by a lot of players, as it's really the only viable way to make money in this game. Skilling has just been, well, botted into the ground. You can't go cut U's anymore because they're worthless. Cutting down magic trees is pretty much worthless. Fishing sharks, fishing manta rays, not very good money. None of the skilling and money-making methods are ever going to be very good, and I'm not saying that they should be on par with most PVM methods, as they take a lot more skill and concentration. However, skilling is pretty much pointless. Every non-bot player could never skill again, and the resources would still be a reasonable price and come into the game at a reasonable pace. There's just way too much supply from the bots for any other player to get in there and make any amount of money. Now, I may actually rephrase my very first statement here. This index that tracks the price of botted items could actually just be a ratio of bots to humans. In November, there may not actually have been less bots. However, the demand increased substantially with mobile and an increase in players, especially with the release of mobile. Those are a lot of new players, and new players are most likely not going to go bot right away. So the ratio of botters to regular players may have been a lot more favorable towards real life players. However, as the player counts have declined a bit after mobile, the number of bots has stayed maybe the same or increased a bit, and the prices of items have thus tanked it. And as always, I want to go over a few different things related to the market this week. One really dire situation we have going here is bonds. Oh my god, look at the price of bonds. Currently going between 5 and 5.5 mil. I think that is one of the highest prices I've ever seen for bonds. It is getting pretty challenging. I think over the next couple of weeks, I want to make another video on earning a bond from scratch, because I mean, bonds were twice the amount that they were when I originally made those videos. If we look at the historical value, it has risen around $1.5 million over the last 3 months. Over the course of the year, it bottomed out in December and now is up to 5 mil, which is actually significantly higher than it was last year and most likely any year in the past. I would hold off on investing a bunch of money into bonds until it crashes again around January time. Next up here, I wanted to have a look at some of the new items that were released in the last couple of weeks. One I'm kind of interested in is the Truver Parchment, because on release it was around 2 mil each. This item is obtained from LMS, and being worth 2 mil each causes a bit of a problem because it only protects one of your untradeable items in the wilderness, and that's just not really worth it, which makes the item in kind of a weird place. Now, one type of bot that is really popular right now is last man standing bots, as they are accessible for free-to-play players, and it was actually the best money in free-to-play for quite a while. Now, because of that, the Truver Parchment has declined in price very quickly, dropping almost in half in a single day, and the Truver Parchment is currently valued at around 500k, which, in kind of an ironic twist here, the botters have made this item viable. At 2 mil, I don't think anyone would have used it except when they're just trying to show off. However, at 500k, this makes this item a lot more viable to be used in deep pool DPKing with your untradeable items. Now, another new item that was released recently is the Ornate Maul Handle. It's currently worth around 500k, and I don't expect it to change from there very much. It is hard capped at 375,000 GP, as that's how much you get for killing someone with it. So it can't physically drop below that, and it doesn't really seem likely it's going to waver from this 500k cost, as it is also correlated to bounty enter points. And last up here, I want to look at some of the more expensive items in RuneScape. The Twisted Bow has been a lot more stable the last month or two. Obviously normal fluctuations, but it's still hovering around 1 billion GP. Back in June was one of the first times that the Twisted Bow went under 1 billion GP in a fair while. Now, in comparison, the Scythe of Viter is falling fairly quickly. It's only worth 750 mil right now, and has been declining in price all year. It was worth max cash a year ago, and now is worth not even half of that. It's getting close to 1/3, and I don't think the Scythe will retain its high value. It's just probably going to continuously drop over the years, and will only really be kept valuable by its rarity, unless there is new content that the Scythe is best in slot at. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for today's video. That is the market analysis for the month of September. If you have any suggestions for things you'd like me to go over next time, Leave a comment down below, and if you are enjoying these monthly videos, I would appreciate it if you left the video a like, and I will see you next time.